Hey everyone, my name is Ebony. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I have a book haul. This is a combination of books that I received for my birthday that I bought myself. So the first book that I have is Convenience Store Woman, and this is by Sayaka Murata. And this follows basically the life of a woman who works at a convenience store, and she has no desire to level up in her career, in a certain job or profession, which honestly really fits my anti-work manifesto right now. This is like the antithesis to the girl boss, and I'm here for it. This has been on my TBR forever, literally, and I have been putting an emphasis on reading more translated lit, which is what you'll see throughout the stack. And yeah, I'm excited to get into this one. Up next, I have my very first Elena Ferrante, and I chose Troublesome Love. The synopsis of this was very appealing to me. So it says Delia sets off on a breathtaking odyssey through the chaotic, suffocating streets of her native Naples in search of the truth about her family. It sounds very interesting, as well as being very immersed in Naples, which is a place I've never been to. And I've also been more actively trying to read books that focus on place, and this seems to be it, how a place and where we grew up really impact us. So I'm excited for this. I do want to check out more of Elena Ferrante's work, and I have seen people post that maybe I should start with like Days of Abandonment or My Brilliant Friend, but I don't know, the synopsis of this one really appealed to me, so I picked this one up. Okay, so next we're gonna get into books I was gifted for my birthday or that I purchased with gift cards that people gave me. The next one is Nausea, and this is by Jean-Paul Sartre. Oh, I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that. So this is a French writer, and it says who is horrified at his own existence. Same, honestly. In impressionistic diary form, he ruthlessly catalogs his every sensation. His thoughts culminate in a pervasive, overpowering feeling of nausea, which spreads at the bottom of the viscous puddle, the bottom of our time. On the back, this says that this was the winner of the 1964 Nobel Prize in Literature, and the author chose to decline to accept it, which is honestly insane energy, and this sounds very chaotic and very existential, and those are reads I like. And also, can we talk about how stunning this cover is? This made it to one of my favorite book covers list. Up next, this is a poetry collection that was recommended to me, and it's by Kara Jackson. Bloodstone Cowboy focuses on reclaiming her lineage, an affirmation of self, and declaration of her right to contain multitude. Kara Jackson was the National Youth Poet Laureate in 2019. So it says she is trying to define womanhood, what it means to live in a body and love it. Sounds very right up my alley. I mean, just like give me a female narrator trying to figure out her body and what it means to be in a body and take up space in a body, and I'm sold, and I can't wait to get into it. It's been blurbed by Dane Smith, who wrote Homie, which is another poetry collection I've been eyeing, but I heard Dane Smith is an amazing poet, so yeah. Bloodstone Cowboy. Next, a book that just really speaks to my love of cults, and there's a UFO on the cover, so I'm already sold, and that is Cultish, the language of fanaticism. And this basically uses linguistics as a means to study the language behind cults, certain phrases and dog whistles and things like that that people say that really speak to a particular group or niche of people, and how they all kind of form a group way of thinking. You all know what cults are. I've always been very fascinated with cults, and what I found interesting about this is that it doesn't look at like typical cults. It also looks at sports teams and their loyal fan bases, as well as Soul Cycle, so I just figured that would be interesting. And next, I picked up the selected works of Audre Lorde. I have actually never read an entire text of Audre Lorde's work, which I really need to get onto, especially this year. This includes the essays, The Master's Tools Will Never Dismantle the Master's House, I Am Your Sister, A Burst of Light, Living with Cancer, The Transformation of Silence into Language in Action, and there are poems from Martha, Sister Outsider, A Litany for Survival, and Making Love to Concrete. And if you don't know who Audre Lorde is, she is self-described as Black lesbian mother warrior poet. So she is an iconic voice in Black feminism, Black literature, and I cannot wait to get into these works. I've been dying to read The Master's Tools Will Never Dismantle the Master's House. Okay, so do you ever have that day where you're having a bad day and you just know that the only thing that will fix said bad day is if you walk into a bookstore and you buy books? That's what happened with these next few books that I'm going to talk about. So the first book that I chose was The Beauty in Breaking, and this is by Michelle Harper. And from the synopsis, Michelle Harper is a African-American emergency room physician in a profession that is overwhelmingly male and white. It's the poignant true story of Harper's journey towards self-healing. Each of the patients she writes about teaches her important lessons about recuperation and recovery, how to let go of fear even when the future is uncertain. And this just kind of reminds me of one of my favorite books, When Breath Becomes Air. That's one of my favorite books, and it's also centered on like the medical profession and, you know, trying to make sense of our human metaphysical experiences, although we are attached to a physical body, which is something that I absolutely love and adore, specifically coming from doctors. I studied a lot of anatomy and physiology in my undergraduate degree, so I just like reading from these perspectives, and I think it's very illuminating. Okay, up next, I have a book that was actually recommended to me. I think I asked on Goodreads for heartwarming reads, and I got Braiding Sweetgrass, which is by Robin Wall Kimmerer. Indigenous wisdom, teachings on the importance of plants, and basically how plants are their own ecosystem and life source, and how we are connected to plants as humans and what we can learn from them, and how we can come to better understand and appreciate and respect Earth and nature. And it's just very heartwarming. It's definitely a good read for spring, summer. Author is a botanist, so it is backed by science, and I really appreciate that. I did start reading this. I'm like on page 22, so I did not get far at all, but the first 2 chapters that I read were amazing, and I definitely am enjoying this guy. It is quite a big book. I have big book fear. Okay, so up next, I got my first ever Rachel Cusk book, and this is second place. I thought about starting Outline first, but I've just been thinking about second place for such a long time. A woman invites a famous artist to use her guest house in the remote coastal landscape where she lives with her family. Powerfully drawn to his painting, she believes his vision might penetrate the mystery at the center of her life. I love a good arty book. I love books centered on art and life, and how art imitates life or exposes life or destroys life, as the inside flap says. And Rachel Cusk just feels like, to me, one of those authors that I should read because her writing is very influential. People tend to equate her writings to other books, and I just would really love to read this. Okay, so the next book, I have to thank a fellow booktuber, Ben. Ben shared this on the good old IG, and I was like, what is that book? Please tell me. It's Department of Speculation by Jenny Offill. So I picked this up instantly. It has that fragmentary style of writing, which I could get down with. When they were young and giddy and in love, Department of Speculation was their code name for all the thrilling uncertainties that lay ahead. It's a couple and their marriage reaches a sudden breaking point. The wife tries to retrace the steps that have led them to this place. So it says the language is shimmering with rage and longing and wit. I love books like this. I figured it would be like almost spacey. I do have Weather by Jenny Offill as well, which I'm guessing her favorite color is blue. And I picked this up a while ago, and this was because Ocean Vuong shared it. I still have not read this yet, okay? Let's just... Book collecting is a different hobby than book reading, you know? So we're gonna end on some poetry. Actually, the last 3 books that I have here are poetry books. And the first one that I got was The Wasteland and Other Poems by T.S. Eliot. Through the poems in this volume, representing his first 4 published collections, Eliot reshaped modern literature with a daring and overpowering vision of a decaying civilization and the urgent need for spiritual renewal. I'm really excited for this. Like, super excited. Also obsessed with, you know, like, okay, this is a moment of vulnerability here. I am genuinely excited to read these, but can we also talk about how I've said for multiple books that I love the cover? I definitely judge books by their cover. I try not to, but I have this habit of, if I see a cover, like if I want to read a book as well as the cover is fire, I need a physical copy. And if I want to read the book but I'm not in love with the cover, I'll just like read it on my Kindle. Anyways, they're getting read regardless, so that's all that matters. So next, I bought Good Woman, and this is Poems and a Memoir by Lucille Clifton. I unfortunately have not read any of Lucille Clifton's work. Artful, intense, Lucille Clifton's poems are made with an unerring ear and a burning mind. As Emily Dickinson said, area is no test of depth. There are very large psychological reaches within this taut spare poetry. And that's what I love. I love some taut poetry that has as few words as possible but makes the biggest impact. I think that's a very artful skill to have. I bought this collection of poetry, Bless the Daughter Raised by a Voice in Her Head by Warsan Shire. Warsan Shire helped Beyonce write Lemonade, and this poetry collection includes poems of migration, womanhood, trauma, and resilience. It introduces us to a young girl who, in the absence of a nurturing guide, makes her own way toward womanhood. So these are all of the poetry collections that I purchased. We got like 4 poetry collections, some memoirs. I feel like a very good overall, some nonfiction, very good book haul to basically last me most of the year, to be honest. I'm going to attempt a book buying ban with a few exceptions. The exception being Time is a Mother by Ocean Vuong. When that comes out, it's mine. I'm purchasing it, don't care. And maybe the new Otessa Moshfegh that's dropping. And also Patti Smith's just announced that she's dropping a new book in the fall. So yeah, I just wanted to take it a little easy. I got more than enough books to read, and I've also been using Libby for audiobooks and to rent out books. And yeah, it's been great. I've been really enjoying that as well. If you've hauled any books recently, let me know which ones. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe if you would like to see more of me. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye!
And I was like, yo.